on the face of it, this has the look of something that does not have economics of scale at all.
You don't really need national marketing if you're still just doing the route business to the local veterinary offices.
I wouldn't want to be paying a franchise fee at all at this point, because what are you getting for it? Very, very little.
$36,000 for a business this size is a huge commitment, and you're outsourcing your marketing to them. Like, have they proved that they can really do it? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous. I'm Mill Snell, one of your co-hosts. Me and Bill and Heather have a fascinating conversation today. I go way down the rabbit hole on this FDD. This is a business that I don't think we've ever looked at before, but I've definitely heard in SMB circles, people love this type of business. It is a pet crematorium, and it's a franchise. It actually seems like the owner of the franchisor is selling their only corporate location and divesting it to focus more on the franchisor side. It's really interesting. We get a ton of detail in the FDD certification about revenue by month, revenue by category, how many new stores they're planning on opening. It talks a lot about walk-in versus vet, referrals. It's a really deep dive, way more information than we normally get. And we didn't sign an NDA. This is all publicly available information because of their franchise status. We talk about the industry as a whole. Bill's coming to the episode off the heels of a pet trade show. And so we had a ton of discussion about the different dynamics and the growing kind of macro trends, but also just the complexity of, is this a deal that's really viable? Who could do something like this? Why would you buy this versus building it de novo? So it's a really fun, fascinating conversation. Hope you enjoy and stick around after a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, Michael here. Want to talk to you about today's sponsor for the episode, which is CloudBookkeeping.com. So Cloud Bookkeeping is actually run by my neighbor, Charlie. So I've met him in person and can attest that he's a real human being and a good person. And what Cloud Bookkeeping does is offer a full suite of bookkeeping services, all in the cloud, for you around QuickBooks and other technologies that you're using as a small business owner. So if you're interested in getting the bookkeeping part of running a business off of your plate and focusing on running your business, Charlie and his team are one to call. They can put together a bunch of other stuff in terms of helping you manage and grow your business besides just bookkeeping, sophisticated reporting, definitely helping you get your QuickBooks online set up in the right way, and a number of things around payroll as well. So definitely know them and recommend them. If you want to find out more about Cloud Bookkeeping, you can go to their website at cloudbookkeeping.com, reach out to Charlie. I know many of you have, and see if he can help you make your running your business easier and more fun by letting them help with a lot of the bookkeeping solutions. So, and when you call, mention this podcast. It would help us and help Charlie know that we're supporting him as well. So thanks a bunch, and cloudbookkeeping.com as the sponsor for today's episode.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. We hit record right after we started making fun of your home state, whoever you are, listener.
Yeah, we won't disclose it, but how's everybody doing?
Doing well. I am back from a week on the road. I was traveling internationally to see a supplier, and then we flew to Vegas for our biggest trade show of the year, Super Zoo, last week, and I didn't get home till like midnight on Friday night. So I am so buried in email right now.
What happens at Super Zoo?
Super Zoo is the largest pet trade show of the year. So it is the entire Mandalay Bay Convention Center.
Wow.
If you've ever been there, you know it is a large convention center. And it's just pet everything. There is a grooming competition. So I saw a poodle made to look like a tiger. I saw a poodle made to look like a unicorn. There's a lot of poodles because the way their hair grows, it's easy to groom them. But there's this thing is huge. I mean, it is the Super Zoo. And there's also one of my friends who sells frog stuff online is there, and live frogs. So he's there with all the aquariums. So it's not just companion animal, dog and cat. It's all this reptile. There's equine. It's it's huge.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is amazing.
It's fun.
That sounds fun.
So I didn't even think about the categories of animals that you guys would segregate into, but companion animal is
companion animal is dog and cat.
Yeah, biggest category. But I mean, could a lizard isn't a companion animal?
Not technically, I guess. I'm sorry to the lizard
we
people
just made
weird people. It is, right?
people. We just made a few thousand people really angry, but
that's right. That's right. Especially if you say a horse is not a companion animal, Heather might come through the screen at me.
Exactly. My emotional support horse would say otherwise.
Horses are their own category. They're their own
Yes.
thing. Equines
Very
are their own
special.
thing. So yeah, companion animal is dog and cat, and then there's like reptile and small lizard, and there's birds, and then there's like a whole other grooming section, which is technically separate. And then so there's all kinds of stuff, and then there's the equine and like farm animal stuff.
Did you come away with a $1 million or $1 billion idea that you can talk about on air?
No and no. Maybe and no. I don't know. But
I would think that there was you would just come away with like burst of creativity. And also, I can't believe somebody is probably making money with something that stupid.
All of those things, some very insane things. And also though, like you find people who stumbled into gold mines all the time. And I can't believe, like, for example, the pet hair, the grooming vacuum thing we did on the show. Yeah. I didn't see them, but I bet they had a huge booth in the grooming section. I don't spend a ton of time in the grooming section, but they had a huge booth. So and every business in the industry is there. So like we look at acquisition targets, everybody's there. And anybody who wants to invest in pet is there. So you get a ton of private equity reaching out. We have a big booth. So this is our biggest booth yet. We had a 20 by 20, which is like an island booth. So we have paths all around on all sides. So we were very busy this year.
Do you try to catch like wholesale buyers? That
is ostensibly the main reason everybody is there. But we'll meet with like all of our big retailers there. Ton of small retailers will just walk up to the booth to place an order. Some that we already know, some that are being introduced to us for the first time, but also all of our suppliers are there. So we see all of our suppliers, which is great. It's just the whole industry gets together. And so you don't have to get on airplanes. It's really, really useful.
That's great.
Well, I have the perfect segue in the history of the entire Acquisitions Anonymous podcast. I might have the perfect segue.
Let's hear it.
Bill, would you say that people spend a lot of money on their pets when it comes to pets?
I would say people spend a ton of money on their pets.
What about when their pets pass away?
I would think they would be primed to spend a lot of money.
Because I have got a deal that I'm going to pull up. I'm going to share the screen, but it says no competition, huge territory, pet cremation franchise in Opelika, Florida.
Okay.
Does that not sound like it hits every key?
Well, if there's no competition at all, I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. Might be too good to be true, but surely not. All right. This is in Opelika. I'm going to read it. Miami-Dade County.
It's a franchise. Mills, you left off that it's a franchise. That's even more interesting.
Maybe not. Okay. I'll listen back to the recording and stand corrected. The asking price is $1.5 million. The cash flow is $50,000. Gross revenues, and I'm guessing this is a new franchise territory, so these might be representative, but we'll get into it and see. Gross revenue, $980,000. Inventory of $20,000. EBITDA of $127,000. They say the rent is $3,200 a month. Oh no, maybe this isn't de novo. This is existing. It's been established since 2018. FF&E of $290,000. They say this is the only pet cremation facility in Miami-Dade County, guaranteed 20 years. I'm not sure how that works. Very profitable pet crematory in business for the past 8 years. Which that math does.
I think the territory is guaranteed exclusive for 20 years.
Probably so. Yeah. We've got a couple YouTube videos here. It's called Resting Rainbow Pet Memorials and Cremation. There's a YouTube video of a lady. I can't tell. This is from the franchise life. I'm not going to play this video because it gets kind of weird if we do like video and video. But episode 51 of the franchise life, there's a link to the FDD certification, which I'll pull up in a minute, which is how franchises worked, and we've talked about those some in the past. Then there's also another YouTube video about from Be Wildly Wealthy about Franchise Minute, Resting Rainbow Pet Services franchise. So they say, we are in a light industrial warehouse that services the public and veterinarians' offices. We own all the equipment and furniture in the office, including a large walk-in cooler and incinerator and a huge inventory. There's no local competition in the market. This office is very capable of reaching $3 million in 1 year. I'm guessing that's revenue. Support and training. We thoroughly train everyone, and support is vital for life. Reason for selling, we need to focus on the franchise. This is our corporate location, and we are maybe too spread thin or something like that. There's also a website here, Peaceful Pause Memorial. I'll pull that up in a second, but they show us where they are. And the broker looks like it's listed by Joseph Castronova. So not a ton of info. I'll pull up some of this and I'll scan it while you guys give me your thoughts, and then we'll dive in from there.
Okay. So what I think is going on here is this was or is a pet crematorium, and they decided to franchise. That has ostensibly been going well enough that they no longer want to actually be in the business of cremating pets themselves. They would rather be in the interest of, or the business of selling franchises to other people who cremate pets. And they want you to buy their founding location, their corporate store, the one that they basically cut their teeth on, and to basically sell it out of being a corporate store and turn it into a franchise, I would assume. So that's what's going on, right? Is that how you guys read it?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. But it's been around 6 years, the original location. And the first thing that I question is it's not making a lot of money for, something that's been around 6 years without much competition around it. I would have thought the cash flow would be higher than this, especially if they've gone out and franchised it from here.
And it's also especially because the period from 2018 to 2023 has been just the most gangbusters period in pet. The best 5 years in pet in the history of pet, pretty much. And the business is still doing $50,000 in cash flow, or $127,000 of EBITDA. I wonder what's between EBITDA and cash flow here. This seems a little weird to me.
Yeah. And now, of course, it requires pets to die. And this is a weird question, Bill, but that boom in pets, has it been people mostly buying young pets that, so
That's
they
true.
haven't quite hit they
That's
haven't
true.
quite become customers of this business yet?
Hopefully still alive. Yes, that's true.
So in 15 years or 10 or 15 years, that wave would help this kind of business, I guess.
Yes, that is true. So the thing that is tough for me here, and let me just get this out of the way, the asking price, right? So I like this industry. I don't know that I want to pay $1.5 million for this location because it's doing $50,000 of cash flow, and it says it has FF&E of $290,000, which you can imagine the fixed assets you would need to run a crematorium, right? It sounds like it's a walk-in cooler and an incinerator, and that you probably add those up and it's about $290,000. So the return on the assets themselves is not terrible, right? You got $300,000 of FF&E and it's yielding $50,000 a year. That's 18% or something. Not terrible, but that's a lot of work. But I don't know where they get 1.5 million. It just is not worth that.
Okay, well, this is publicly publicly available information. So I'm going to share a different screen based on their FDD, which is going to give us a little bit of a snippet into this. And this is the way that FDD certification works is if you're going to solicit franchisees and become a franchisor, you have to go through some regulatory hurdles to do that. Mm-hmm. And in essence, whether or not it's valid, the goal is to provide a level playing field in terms of access to information on the entry of the investment. So to make sure that nobody has an uphand advantage or anything like that in making the investment. So we've got on this table that is on the screen, we've got 2022 and 2023 income, expense, and franchise adjustment line items that get us to EBITDA. It says gross revenue and certain expenses of the affiliate owned outlet for each year.
So that would be this one, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, it's affiliate owned. It's one of their kind of, corporate locations, and the numbers are a good bit lower than what is on Biz Buy Sell, which there could be a lot of reasons for that. It could also
in some ways the revenue's lower, but the EBITDA is higher.
Yes. It's an interesting, I'm just looking. So, I mean, the business basically has like less than 10% COGS, which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, there's not a lot of
there's no COGS
related to now. One of the components of sales, this isn't just a service-based business. They also sell products, urns, and things, memorial items and things like that. So there would be COGS associated with those product sales, but not the services themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can see their payroll jumps significantly from 54,000 in 2022 to 127,000 in 2023. Their EBITDA remains roughly the same. So on its face, this business, if you're not watching on YouTube, it goes from 531,000 of sales in 2022 to 715,000 of sales in 2023, and EBITDA goes from 202 to 221.
Yep.
Whereas payroll more than doubles from 54 to 127. So on the face of it, this has the look of something that does not have economics of scale at all. I mean, this thing got 50% bigger and all of the additional revenue spent on payroll, and almost none of it dropped to the bottom line.
Yeah.
Which now the margin percentage is great. I mean, it's in the mid 30s. But at the same time, there's something else going on here. Like, this is probably not representative. Like, it shouldn't be that way. You know, your same staff should be able to cremate more and more pets. Like, there should be a fixed cost component to this.
There is some data here that's kind of interesting. So like they say in here, this is table 2 is 2022 revenue and cases by month. I'm guessing a case is a cremation because they're showing kind of average revenue per transaction. But, you know, it looks like it's fairly smooth revenue. Like the low monthly revenue, February was 23,000. It gets as high as 66,000 in December. I don't think there would be seasonality, but looks like it's now this is interesting. The vet versus walk-in, vet almost tripled between 22 and 23. So the total cases, you know, almost doubled while walk-ins stayed the same. I would think that vets is obviously your, you know, high volume, but probably lower margin customer segment versus walk-ins that are kind of more retail.
And probably requires a salesperson to go out to those vet offices. And that's, to me, is where the payroll increase might have been. You know, someone that's incentivized to bring on those additional cases from the veterinary clinics. I've actually visited a crematorium for animals before. It was actually kind of a combination. A veterinarian actually owned it, so it had a little bit of both. They were veterinarian on one side and had the cremation on the other. And what I understood of that business is they drove, you know, they had salespeople who got different vet clinics to sign on, and basically you brought the vet clinic a freezer. And when the dog or cat is put down or passed away, they put them in the freezer, and then these vans go out and pick them up on a schedule and bring them to the crematorium and do the rest from there. So I think it's kind of a route business in a weird way, and there is some sales involved.
Interesting. Because unfortunately, crudely, right, some people want to give their dog a funeral, and sometimes it's a disposal business, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine, so the low figure, they have like the high figure and the low figure for how much they charge for a cremation. The low figure in almost every month is $15, which strikes me as sort of the disposal fee, you know, the no frills. But it can be as high as $800 or $900 or over $1,000 in some cases. And I would imagine the vets are more of the route-based business, low margin stuff. But they've grown significantly in that. And the walk-ins grew from like $1,100 a year to $1,200 a year. But the vet business grew more than double. Yeah. So I imagine that's how they're growing. And that's why their payroll is going up along with their revenue. But the margin is not going up, the EBITDA margin.
Right.
Guys, what we're finding is this is indicative of looking at a franchise and looking at an FDD, a disclosure. It's a franchise disclosure document, FDD. There's so much data here. We could spend like 3 hours looking at the details of this. Now they have pulled up on the screen income revenue percentage per service category. So they're showing us revenue per kind of service line. Cremation fees make up 74% of it. And then they show us memorial items, same day cremations, pickup and delivery fees, home euthanasia. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. There's so many different ways that your personal preferences can come into the mix here. It's not just a one size fits all.
Hi, Heather here. When I'm not breaking down deals with these guys, I'm helping people get the right SBA loans for their business acquisitions. Because when you're buying a business, the best financing isn't one size fits all. There's the best rate, fastest to close, the specific loan structure that you need, or a little of all of those things. That's why my company, Viso Business Capital, works with over 30 different lenders to find you the best funding in less time and with less friction, so you can focus on the deal. Sign up for a free live Q&A session on SBA loans at visocap.net, then click Zoom sign up in the top right corner. That's visocap.net and click Zoom sign up.
So, but this FDD is 179 pages. We can't process that all here. But I also wonder, anytime you're buying a business from somebody to go do a different business, you kind of wonder, oh, well, is the new business they're doing the business I really want to be in? And these guys are going from running the crematorium to franchising the crematorium. And it makes me go, anytime I see this with a franchise that's kind of not proven out, I go, is this a hustle? Like, does this really need to be franchised? There's so many of like these low end franchises, like franchised drain cleaning, franchised
dryer vent cleaning.
Yeah. And you're like, does this need to be franchised, or is this like, just a local business? What is the franchising actually bringing to it? And the answer to that question needs to be national scale marketing, right? And maybe access to, like, if you can't buy the furnaces and the coolers, on your own. So maybe like access to a supply chain of some kind. Or SOPs if it's like a very SOP heavy type of business. I don't know that I see this here.
No.
National marketing, access to a supply chain, or SOP heavy type business. And it makes me go, why does this need to be a franchise?
Yeah.
So this is the website that it links to. And it looks like there's maybe a couple things going on. There's Resting Rainbow up in the top right. And then there's also Peaceful Pause over in the left. So I'm confused as a prospective, franchisee looking at this information, and makes me think, okay, is there something going on here that is, if I'm confused, right? Are customers confused by this? Is there just, this is their website. So there's two customer facing elements here. How is the water getting muddy?
As far as I can tell, Mills, Peaceful Pause is the corporate location. That was like the one of one location. And you can see in the Peaceful Pause logo, there is the rainbow. And I am willing to bet that then Resting Rainbow became the name of the franchisor. And if you go to restingrainbow.com, you will see that they have franchise opportunity on there, and they have apparently 8 locations, all of which are in Florida, except one is in Philly. So I think Resting Rainbow is the franchise brand.
It is weird that they changed the brand so much, though. I do find that even confusing.
So I have seen that happen. I'm actually invested in a laundromat franchise. And they were called 2U Laundry at first, and they had to change their trademark for the franchise to Laundro Lab for trademark reasons as they went to scale nationally. So it's possible, I don't know, it could possibly be a trademark thing.
I gotcha.
All right, yeah, I think you're right. So, and this will be the last thing. This is just like catnip right now. I can't stop this FDD. So what they show in their disclosure document is status of franchised outlets. So they basically show one outlet, one location at the start of the year in 21, 22, and 23, which is the one in question. And then they say in Florida, they have projected new franchise outlets at the end of last year. They're anticipating, I guess they've signed 2 franchise agreements in Florida, but they haven't opened. They project 10 to be sold in Florida, 5 in Georgia, and 5 in North Carolina. So they're anticipating opening 20 new locations in 2024. So at least kind of tells us, right? I think you hit the nail on the head, Bill and Heather. I think they started with one location. They realized, hey, maybe we're on to something, or we feel very bullish about this. Let's franchise it and just wear the franchisor hat and quit operating and just collect the 7% royalty, shared marketing fees, all the different things that go along with being a franchisor. But let's get out of the day-to-day operations. But they did it with one,
Hard to blame them, right? I mean, it would be nice to just sit back and clip franchise fees. But it seems like you're getting in here at the very beginning of a franchise. So, right there, it seems like they've contracted to open several, but they're not open yet. If you're going to jump into this franchise, you are kind of on the cutting edge to some degree. Now, I would be really nervous if you were, say, buying a greenfield franchise in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no national marketing footprint or anything, and you're going to pay a franchise fee that kind of assumes you're getting all that, and you're not. You are, in this case, buying an existing business, right, that has contracts and veterinarians in place and some market awareness. So I think that de-risks it a little bit. Again, price aside, paying $1.5 million for this is crazy. But still though, I wouldn't want to be paying a franchise fee at all at this point, because what are you getting for it? Very, very little.
Right. And I think just the mix of their customers tells me something that is kind of less desirable. The wholesale customers, if you will, are the veterinarians, and that is the vast majority of their business. And you'd think the value of a franchisee getting marketing, they'd have to show that their marketing is effective in reaching the pet owner directly, not just the veterinarian. And it doesn't look like it's been all that effective. Like, still seems like a business where most of it's going to come from the veterinary offices, and it's going to be hard to get people to bring their dead pets. I mean, I wouldn't want to. I think I would prefer go through the veterinarian office and whatever they say. So I think that's a challenge right there that I see is you don't really need national marketing if you're still just doing the route business to the local veterinary offices.
Yeah.
Is there anything that invites competition more than saying, look, we have no competition?
So what I don't know, Mills, is if this is licensed or not, because it does say on the website the only licensed pet crematorium in Miami-Dade County. So, and now the bar for that could be very low. It could be fill out a form and you're good to go. They're also very big on, there's no competition, and maybe there's not going to be another Resting Rainbow in Miami-Dade County. But as we've already established, the CapEx to start one of these is under $300,000. So like if you are crushing it, here comes the competition.
Yeah.
Right? This is really tough. It's not really protectable. And that brings me back to the criticality of branding at the franchisor level and national marketing. And I just don't see it, because that's your only moat, right? The people got to know Resting Rainbow is where you take your pet and the experience is fantastic, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to take it to some hole in the wall pet crematorium. But I don't know that they've established that yet. Especially not outside of Florida. All their locations they've sold are in Florida.
And there is this interesting thing in multi-unit that people who are really good at franchising, they kind of know the segment of the market that they are good at. There are certain folks who are really good at going from 0 units, kind of like this, 1 unit, up to maybe 10 to 15. Then there's folks who are really good at that kind of growth catalyst and saying, hey, you're at 15 units and I want to grow from 15 to 50, which is kind of the prime, steep part of the learning curve for the franchisor. But then there's folks like Rourke and multi-unit, just like masters and PE-backed folks who they come in and they blow these things out. And it's like, Orange Theory Fitness and all the big franchise names that they go from, hey, I've never really heard of that, or maybe I saw it one time when I was on vacation, to now they feel like they're everywhere. That's all PE driven. Those folks know how to roll out units. They know how to do franchise territory development, and they have mature systems at the franchisor. What you hear is most franchisees and folks who are good at multi-unit, they have to know where in that life cycle they play best. And you have to kind of set your expectations accordingly. If it's a big national name, you expect big national benefits. If it's a very new, very green, you kind of have to, like you said, Bill, it's like, what am I paying for? One of these things was a $3,000 monthly marketing fee. $36,000 for a business this size is a huge commitment. And you're outsourcing your marketing to them. Like, have they proved that they can really do it?
Yeah. This is also an interesting market for marketing. It is almost pure demand capture. So, the two types of marketing are demand creation and demand capture, right? You can't convince me that I need to cremate my pet if he's still walking around. right? So it's pure demand capture. Like you have to be there
The moment. Yeah.
at the moment that they want you. I mean, it's a lot like disaster recovery. You know, if you have your basement floods, like you need it right now and you do not need it before and you don't think about it before. What's nice though is the ROAS can be very, very good. The return on ad spend can be very, very good on pure demand capture businesses because people need it. They need it now, and they're probably fairly price indifferent, right? You can kind of charge whatever you want to charge, especially if there's not a lot of competition in the market. The problem is there's an inherent ceiling, right? Like you can't make more pets die than die naturally, right? So you grow with the market, and if you want to grow faster, you got to take share. You know, you got to slug it out with other people. So then you end up in maybe Google Ads bidding war, right? Who's willing to pay the most for a pet cremation? And it's kind of this balance between your CAC and how much can I charge before consumers go elsewhere. So it's that type of marketing. I would be wary of a franchise that says, oh, we can just dial up your marketing spend and 5X your business. You know, I want to understand, I don't know how you figure this out, but like how many dogs die in Miami-Dade County every year? Because that's your ceiling.
Which in the human death care industry, you can find those things out, you know, and yes, it is a very fixed ceiling. Like I used to have some clients in the funeral home business, and it's highly regulated, but it's very predictable. You know, even when COVID comes and things like that, death is fairly predictable in every zip code. And then it's just a battle for who gets, you know, their share of the pie of this. One interesting regulatory thing that I wonder if they're hitting on is in order to have the cremation machine, which I can't remember exactly what that's called. It's it has a very specific name I'm drawing a blank on now, but talk about every like Facebook business horror story, every like HOA horror story. If people find out you are petitioning to get one of these, they come out in droves because they think that like ash is going to be coming out of the building, and you know that like it's gonna like they're gonna smell it and all kinds of things. And so if there is one already in place and you don't have to petition to get a new one, I know from hearing about some people's experience that's a very important thing.
Yeah, and what was the asking price of $1.5 million? Let's throw that out and say maybe this is worth 3x. And I don't know exactly what the cash flow is, but it's 200 something maybe. So maybe this is 600,000 to 700,000 enterprise value. How does that compare to the total all-in cost of starting one of their franchises? Did the FDD make that clear?
That's the problem, right? Because the FF&E is $290,000. I haven't seen in the FDD, but you know, why would you pay any more than $290,000 to buy to own this business when you could just start your own? There'd have to be some substantial brand value that, you know, this brand of crematorium was better. But unfortunately, though, the cash flow of the business does not even justify even the replacement cost of the assets at the moment. If in fact the cash flow of the business is $50,000, you know, you basically made a poor investment with your $300,000 to buy that equipment, unless something is going on and Mills's FDD is right, in which case the cash flow is a little over $200,000 a year. Which, okay, then maybe it commands $600,000, $500,000 to $600,000 of enterprise value, which is a nice little premium over the replacement value of the assets of 290, 300 or so. And then you got to decide, do I want to pay $600,000, $500,000 to $600,000 for this business with the assets in place running? Or do I want to go buy, you know, the furnace and the walk-in freezer and all that stuff for $300,000 and try to make a go of it and build a business and compete with these guys? That's the decision here.
Yeah.
For those reasons, I'm thumbs down.
For those reasons, you're out.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know this industry well enough to understand what type of penetration they have in Miami-Dade County. The other thing too is Miami-Dade County is big. Like that's a high population county. So you can't translate that. Like you can't just open one of these in somewhere else in Florida that is lower population. Or maybe you can, because Miami-Dade is very urban. Maybe fewer people have dogs. You know, maybe more of a mid-sized city that's more suburban is better, right? Where people have more yards and more dogs and can drive. So that's the problem with early franchising, is just none of this stuff is proven out. So you don't really know, which makes me nervous.
All right, as we wrap it up, who do you think who do you think signs the NDA and gets the SIM and is the right fit for this type of business?
There are other, so here's the problem. There are other pet crematorium businesses. I don't know if they're franchised or if they're just all corporate owned. So like you could try to do this as an add-on, except I don't think these guys are going to sell their crown jewel corporate store to a competitor and give a competitor a foothold in their biggest market, Miami-Dade County. So that's kind of the problem. Like it doesn't work as an add-on, and it's a little tough, for an operator, unless you just want to be an operator, make $200,000 a year, and like this is it.
The only scenario I'm thinking that makes sense is a vet.
That's
like
what I was going to say. The same one I looked at. Yeah, the vet, a vet owning it as kind of a diversification of revenue. Mm-hmm. And they know all the other vets, so the ability to sell into that network, they have more knowledge of what's really going on. And yeah, that's it, a veterinarian.
But if you're a vet, then why don't you just spend the CapEx and attach it to your current building and you're ready to rock?
Right. Only at the right price should a vet buy this. Otherwise, I agree with you. But sometimes a working doctor might find it easier just to kind of buy something that looks turnkey than to try to start it up.
That's true.
I think also the distinction of it, it's like you don't want to be a vet who it's like, well, you come in, this door in the same building, for us treating your pet humanely and we love it and we will do anything to save it. But if that didn't work out, just go next door and it's under the same roof.
I went to a place like that.
I think that would kind of muddy the waters. You probably want the, clearly distinct different branding, not even like any association.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a little morbid where they're like, yeah, we don't care. We make money coming and going.
Which you could do it de novo, right? A vet could do it on their own and do it, 2 blocks away or whatever and it not be under the same brand. But that's the only scenario I could imagine where somebody would say, it's worth me really like pulling this apart and getting into the conversation with the franchisor about, where they're maybe right and wrong and actually spending the effort on it. I
like this end market. I mean, more and more people are getting pets. More and more people are treating them, or humanizing them. This market should have tailwinds. My question though is how do you, and I don't think these people are crazy either to try to build a brand and franchise in this market, right? There are going to be brands built in this market. The question though is what is the right strategy to build a moat around your pet crematorium business? Mm-hmm. And is this the one, do you want to be a franchisee here in Miami-Dade County? How's that compare to other cities? How's that, do I want to pay a franchise fee to an as yet unproven franchisor at this point in the maturation of the market? That's the question for me.
I think that's a great note to end on. And we're kind of running up against time. Bill, I'm so glad we had you for this episode too. And coming off the heels of, what'd you say it was? Pet Zoo?
Super Zoo.
Super Zoo, sorry.
Super Zoo.
I just love the way they named it. Like the other big one of the year is Global Pet Expo, which is just like so boring but like Super Zoo, and it is that way.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you found this episode interesting, feel free to pass along to a friend and also check out our website, which we keep promoting because we've added a lot of functionality and tags. If you have a certain type of industry or deal that you're looking at, you can search and filter based on those tags and drill down and find episodes that are pertinent to you. And we keep hearing really great feedback from folks as they go and are kind of running down the rabbit hole on some of these things. So thanks so much and tune in next week.